In today's episode, we're talking about the emotional overwhelm that comes when you finally decided to recover from your trauma and start all over, and the 3 things you must have in order to get through it. It's a new episode of Recovering Well. Let's get into it. Greetings, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Leslie Woke, and welcome to Recovering Well, the show that was designed to help you recover from trauma and transition so you can get back to growing your power, income, and position. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about the emotional overwhelm that happens once we have finally said, okay, listen, I'm ready to recover. I'm done with this. I can't deal with this anymore. But you know, one of the things that I always hear from people at this part of the process is that, okay, well, Dr. Okay, I know I want to recover, but how do I do that? What am I supposed to do, right? So let's use an example. If you have ever injured yourself, whether you twisted an ankle, you broke a leg, or you had to be on extended bed rest for some time, think about that process and think about the last visit you had with your physician. And so one of the things that they're going to tell you is that, okay, you're going to be on bed rest, but make sure you're eating well and all of that. And, you know, most of us, we start thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be not able to move around. I'm going to be immobile. So let me stop eating as much so I won't gain weight lying down. Hands raised if you've ever thought this or said this to yourself. So in actuality, even though you're going to be on bed rest, even though you're not going to be as mobile as before, you actually should be consuming more because your body requires energy. It requires nutritious food in order to get it through the healing process. So this isn't the time to cut back on what you're eating. In fact, this is rather the time to eat enough or maybe even more of the nutritious foods that you're eating. The body needs the food to fuel the healing process. It is the same way when it comes to our emotional recovery process. Our hearts, our souls, we need something good and nutritious and healthy and substantive to fuel us through our recovery process. But oftentimes the way we approach it is this. I'm through dealing with this. I want to get rid of this memory. And we tend to cut off things very abruptly without a process or a plan, without deep reflection or prayer even. We tend to isolate ourselves from certain people and we say, well, I'm going to figure it out on my own. We tend to almost act like that part of us doesn't even exist anymore, when in fact, that part still does, and it grew legs and made its way into your life and left a remarkable imprint. So when we talk about recovery, we can't just cut something off and pretend it didn't happen. No. Recovery requires that we have the fuel to get us through the process. There are 3 things that anyone is going to need on their emotional recovery process. And the first thing is going to be you want to have the right tools. So when I think about tools and I relate that back to our injury example, for me, tools are the food. These are the bite-sized pieces of information that you were able to quickly and easily consume and process so that you're able to have what you need to get through this emotional recovery place. So when we talk about this in the example of trying to heal from certain hurts or traumas, a tool can be a book, a podcast, a TV show, a sermon, a lecture series. It is anything that is going to help to expand your mind and help you think differently about the situation that you're trying to heal from. There's a Chinese philosopher, his name is Lin Yutang, and he wrote in one of his books that a wise man reads books and life. And what he means by that is often we tend to rely on this notion of, well, it's my experience, it's what's going to get me through. I don't need to study anything to try and understand the situation. But no, if we want to be wise, right, having true life cred is being someone that is well read and someone that has been able to go through life and get the nuggets from that. Both are important. So let's do some intentional reflection right now. I want you to think about a situation that you are trying to heal from. Something that you're like, I am determined. I need to get rid of this issue in my bloodline. I need to deal with this issue that I've been thinking about myself, issues with mindset, whatever that is, get it in your mind, okay? And then I want you to start to think about what are the tools that you've used to try and help yourself in that process. Is there a book that you've heard of? Is there a podcast that someone has mentioned? Is there a sermon series that has come up, but you just keep ignoring it? Whatever that is, use a tool. The thing about it is this too. The tool, you get the benefit of a tool the more you use it. You start to know how to hold it in your hand. You have a way of how you maneuver it. It's the same way with the tools that are available for our own recovery process. The more you use it, the more consistent you are, the more you benefit. The second thing that we need in order to fuel us through the emotional recovery process is a guide. We all need a guide. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a situation, whether it be in a relationship or with a work situation, where I thought to myself, am I the only one that has dealt with this? And the answer is no, you're not. And you are not either. You're not the only one. It collapses your time when you are able to work with someone who gets it. I can remember situations where I was processing things with a friend of mine, and just the fact that even before I could finish my sentence, she's like, girl, I know exactly what you mean. That happened to me too, and this is how I dealt with it. Those conversations were life-saving. It was life-saving for me, because here I was thinking that I was by myself, but here was my girlfriend who had walked through the exact same process and knew how to also walk me through it too. With the thing that you are trying to recover from, who's your guide? Who's your person? The one that you are saying, I want to be able to learn from you with this. It's so important to have this, because here's the reason. When we talk about this idea of staying motivated and having momentum as we heal, sometimes we try to look for examples within ourselves to keep us motivated, but it doesn't always work that way. Because when we're in recovery, oftentimes we're recovering from a failure or a setback, and we don't have those recent examples that help keep us going and that help keep us saying, okay, I'm gonna actually get through this process. But when you have a guide, when you have a coach, when you have your person, you get to feed off their victories. I have a girlfriend who says to me all the time, girl, just feed off my faith. If you don't got the faith, feed off my faith. And what she's saying in that is that even if you don't have the faith or the examples to pull from that you can get through it, look at my life. Look at my life and know that if the Lord loves me and He loves you, you're gonna get through this too, okay? So I want you to think about who's your person, who's that guide, and who would you wanna consider reaching out to in order to find support. The last part to help you cope is community. Community is everything. You know, when you're starting over, you are in a situation where it's challenging. You're not in a place that's all familiar like it was before. Things feel strange and it feels new. Now, when it comes to the brain, when we're in a situation where we are not in flow, which means that we are not working on something that is familiar to us or something that is easily rewarding to us, that means that we're not in flow. And when we're not in flow, it turns on certain parts of our brain called the default mode network. Now, when the default mode network turns on, it causes us actually to think really negative thoughts. Things like, you're no good. You're not worth it. You are not gonna get through this. I don't know why you thought that you would be the one to build this thing. A line of negative thoughts, negative thinking. And the thing about it is, because we're in a situation where we're starting over, we're doing something new, and we're not as occupied with things anymore. Remember, we're on bed rest, emotional bed rest. We start to believe that. We start to believe these thoughts that are coming. But I have to implore you, don't believe them. Don't believe them. This is why community is important. It's because when those thoughts come, you get to look around to your left, to your right, in front, and behind you and say, I'm thinking this. Did you all think that? And you're going to have people that are like, yep, I felt that same way, but you know what? Keep going. Yep, I had that same thing happen to me. I fell down, but I got back up. I'm telling you, you'll get past this part. Community helps you to be resistant when those triggers come, when those negative thoughts come, when you're tempted to go back to the Egypt that you are familiar with. Tools, your guide, and your community. With those three things, you are setting up yourself for an amazing, challenging, but rewarding emotional recovery journey. So I'd love to hear from you. What are the parts in that tool belt that I just said that you wish you had? Is there a tool that you wish you had to help you heal faster or deal with something? Is there a community or a coach that you've been looking at? I'd love to hear. Send me a message below. And then after that, I want you to sign up for our upcoming free HeartWork Recovery Workshop. I'm going to be talking about how to recover your heart and relaunch your life. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be taking place on March 16th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's free. So just go ahead and sign up. And even if you're going to be working or with the littles or just engaged at that time, it's totally okay. Still sign up and you will get the replay. I'm committed to helping you recover this year. Your assignment, your impact, the difference you're going to make in the world depends on it. It's been another great episode with you all. Don't forget to share this, invite a friend to watch, and I'll see you here next time.